Hey guys, it's Intricate and I'm back with another video. Oh my gosh. Basically, today we're gonna do episode 2 of Let's Talk Tech. I am so excited. Stop the music, stop the music, stop the music, stop the music. Today is app building day. I hope you guys enjoy. Even if you're not following along, like obviously this is for people that want to learn a bit of Kotlin and stuff to follow along, but even if you're not following along, you just want to watch, enjoy. When I first ever started, I literally used this tutorial that's how I'm going to be showing you today to start my Android development journey. Like, this was the first ever time I'd seen Kotlin in my life, and I used this exact tutorial to start my career in tech. So I'm going to bring you that same tutorial today with a little twist. So the tutorial is called Krumble, and it's basically like a Tinder for cookies. So you see a chocolate chip cookie and you're like, yep, or nah, don't want that. So what we're gonna do is do that, but do it for trainers today. And the exciting thing is that I actually have a device plugged in, so as we build the app, we're gonna be running it so you can see the progress on an actual phone screen with the app running, and at the end I will use the app so we can play with it a little bit and see what we got. It won't be anything too crazy, but I just feel like you guys deserve it. Like, you guys have been amazing, so supportive. On that note, have you liked? Have you subscribed? Because I'm going to be building this app for you guys, just for you guys, and I would hate for you guys to watch this whole video without having subscribed. How you gonna find me again? Guys, I'm going to give you a second just to like it. Don't look at me now, go and like. Oh, okay, I saw you liked it. All right, thank you guys. You already know what it is. Let's talk tech. Okay, it's a voiceover ting. Obviously right now I'm just getting all my trainers. I'm being careful to make sure they're all in the right format, so JPEGs. Some of them are Google WebPs when you're trying to save them, and those you cannot use, so just making sure they're JPEGs. Getting a range of trainers. You see, get some Yeezy, some Balenciagas, some Jordans, like just a few. I was gonna get just a couple, but I feel like having a few more will make the app a bit more legit. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just saving them all in the same folder. So I made a folder for our app called sneakers, then I made a folder within that for all our images called trainers, just so everything is in the same place. You know, I had to come through those Air Forces, like those are classics. I nearly forgot, but what is an app without some Air Forces? Come on. If you haven't got Android Studio already, pause the video right now and go and download it from Google. Also get up the tutorial from Codebar so you can follow along, as this video is quite fast. So we're going to make a new project. Just go to File, and it's going to be an empty activity since we only have one page. Save it as whatever you want to call your app, change the package name, and choose the location you want to save the app as. You can leave the rest of the settings and click finish. As you can see, it's already made a few files for us. That's why we clicked empty activity. We have our main activity and our layout. Our layout is basically how our app is going to look. This is where we do all of our, basically our design work. If you want a button, if you want like a scroll view, a switch or whatever. And then you can click design, split or code, so you can actually like make it using code, or you can use the helpful design panels. So the tutorial has a lot of explanation, so I'm not going to say every little thing, but I'm just basically following along, changing this to a relative layout, just because it's a lot easier to use than a constrained layout. A text view is like a text box basically. You can put the text you want in. As you can see, I changed it to hey guys, but I'm going to delete that because we don't need that right now. It was just there to show. So this is the design panel. You can see the palette has a lot of things you can use, like switches and buttons, but you also have a component tree at the bottom to see how your design is coming along. So if I coded in something like an image view, you see that pop up right there in the component tree, and same if I drag it in from the palette, it's exactly the same thing. But I'm just going to code in the image for now. So we're going to need an image for our sneaker, so we're going to just put an image view in, and the width of the image view, we're going to put a set width because we don't want the trainers to, like the box to be different sizes essentially. So we're going to do a set width and height to fill our image in. So we also need an ID. It's very important because this is how we refer to this box we've created so that we can change the image that it displays inside when we get to coding. So we'll just call it image sneaker. You always call it something that you will know what it is. We also need some other things. As you can see, it's squashed to the top left, so we're going to put a margin at the top so it doesn't look like that in the app, just 50 dp, and then we're going to make it central, so we just use center horizontal true, and as you can see, our image is where we want it to be. So the other things we need, I'm just going to drag in quickly and we'll just edit it in the code after. So we need 2 text views, one for the name of the sneaker and one for its description. So we're going to change the ID so we know which one we're dealing with. So this one will be sneaker name and that one will be sneaker description. We also have 2 buttons, and those buttons are for liking or disliking a particular sneaker. As you can see, I'm sticking to the same convention when giving IDs. So it's camel case, so the first word is lowercase and the second word and any word thereon is uppercase. And I'm going to change image sneaker to sneaker image just so it follows the same kind of pattern that I've been using. So I'm going to just kind of comment out the things that we're not using right now so it's not in the way. So you just highlight it and click Command / to kind of make it invisible. So we're going to start with the name. Right now you see it says match parent, which makes the width all the way across the screen basically. So we're going to keep it as match parent and leave the height as wrap content, so it's just as high as it needs to be, however high the text is. Then inside we're just going to put the text as sneaker name, so we just can see in our design this is the sneaker name and this is where it's going to go. And then we change the layout and you click layout below and you say where you want it to be below, and right now we want it to be below our image, so we do ID sneaker image, and that's how we refer to other parts of our design. We do gravity center. As you can see, the name is now in the center of the box, and then we do a layout margin of 20 dp, which means all the way around that box we have a margin so it's not all squashed together, we want a bit of space. Then we do exactly the same for our description. I brought it back by highlighting that bit of code and clicking Command / again. I just quickly made the background of the image black just so that we can see it a bit better in our technically fake design. And I also made the font a bit bigger in my code because I realized you guys may not be able to see it properly. So I'm basically doing the same thing for my description, but this time layout below is equal to the sneaker name ID. Because we want it below that, and we don't actually need a margin all the way around, we just need it on the bottom because we already have the margin around the sneaker name. Okay, so now the like button, we're going to make the width a set width because we don't want the button to change size and the text isn't changing anyway, so we can just do that. Leave the height as wrap content because it's just going to wrap the text. Also, we're doing the same thing for the dislike button because they're essentially the same button, just going to be different colors, and when we do the coding in the main activity we're just going to have different usages for each button. So I've moved the like button and put the layout below the sneaker description, same as the dislike button. And now I'm going to change the color of the background to green. I got this hex code from the tutorial, and I'll do the same for the dislike button. Right now the button hasn't changed color because I just realized it is just a button, which means it's gonna inherit the style of the app rather than being able to change the color. So I'm gonna have to change that to an app compact button eventually, but let's just finish coding and then we'll change that. So now I'm just getting the buttons in place. So I'm aligning the like button to the left side of the screen and putting a 50 dp margin on the left side, and then I'm aligning the dislike button to the right side of the screen and putting a 50 dp margin on the right side. So I'm just changing some things. I use Command Option L to reformat the order of everything because there's a certain order. As you can see, some things come first, some things are alphabetical, like if you click that it will automatically do it for you. And I'm also changing everything that says left to start and everything that says right to end because that is the convention, and it was complaining because it suggests that to you, like, are you sure? And now you see I've changed it to an app compact button and the colors are there. So I'm going to press the play button at the top of the screen to run the app on my phone. I'm sharing my screen with you. As you can see, it all looks good. All that the placeholders are in place as we created. And now we're going to edit the main activity. This is where we're going to do all our logic, all our coding, how we're going to get our trainers up, how we're going to click the buttons, because right now nothing is working. This is where the magic happens. As you can see, we set the content view as the layout we just made, so r.layout.activity_main. Now we're gonna assign each of the things we put in that layout to variables in this code. So for the image of the sneaker, we're just gonna make a variable called image. :image view is just saying that that variable is of type image view, just to let the code know what we're dealing with. Then we do find view by ID, and then we set it to the ID that we made our image in our code, and we call that sneaker image. So now it's just telling the code that our image is that view. Whenever we refer to image in this code, we're talking about that box we made in our design. We do the same for name, but that's a text view, remember. Description, another text view, and we just set the IDs to whatever we made them in our design. So now we can play with this. So now we're going to import all the trainers we saved earlier. So we navigate to Resource Manager on the left, click the plus button and click Import Drawables. Then you can just navigate to the folder where we saved our trainers, highlight them all, click Open. Then you see all your trainers in this list here ready to be imported. Click Next, click Import, and then now you can see in the Resource Manager all of our trainers ready for us to use. So now we've set image as a variable to that box we made in our design. We can literally write image.setImageResource and set it to any of those images we just imported, and it will just fill that box when we launch our app. We can for now do Air Force Black. Yeah, cool. And then we can change name.text. By doing .text is basically accessing the attribute of that text view and changing the text to whatever you want in the code. And the same for description. So because this is on create, it's like when the app is created and when you launch the app, this is everything that happens. I'm running this on a real Android device, but if you don't have one, you can just use the emulator. Go to AVD Manager, create virtual device, choose the device you want, choose what release you want, and then yeah, click next and click finish. I'm gonna cancel it because I already have a device, but yeah, that's how you do it, and you can run it as if it's a real device. But I'm just gonna rerun it on my device. This is what we've put. Literally everything we've put is there. The buttons don't work yet, so we're gonna have to deal with that. But before that, we need to basically make a data class for our sneakers because they all have certain attributes that we want to access. So it makes it a lot easier this way, so we can create new ones and give them the names that we want. So the name is a string, which is just like a piece of text. We have an image for each one, which is going to be an int. An int is basically like an ID. So when it says r.drawable. whatever, it could also be a number, but in this case it is a drawable. And we have a story, which is actually a description, so let me fix that, and that's also a string. So now we can create sneakers and give them names, images and descriptions, and we can make as many as we want. It just makes it a whole lot easier. So we leave that at the bottom of our class, of our main activity. So we can go ahead and change all our variables var to values val, because now we're going to be setting them specifically for each trainer. We don't really want people to change it unless we change it in the actual sneaker object. For example, right now we're going to make one sneaker object for Air Force One. So if we call it Air Force One black, we don't want someone to go and change it to white when it's black. So it's a val, not a var. So we can just do val sneaker, and the type of it is a sneaker. But I just realized since we're using the data class to make it, we don't need to put the type in. It already knows what it is. So we use a capital S for the data class, and then we put in the values we want according to the attributes that we've already specified, so name, image and description. So we just put them in just like so for Air Force Ones, and we can make as many as we want. We can do val sneaker 2 and then put the white ones, then we can do sneaker 3 and so on. It doesn't need to be called sneaker, it can be called whatever we like. And then when we're setting our views, our text views for the name and the images, we can literally use sneaker.image, sneaker.name. We can access the specific attribute we want. So it's literally looking at that val we made called sneaker, and then when it says .name, it's literally going to take Air Force One black and substitute it in. As you can see, when I made the sneaker, I put it all on a separate line for each attribute, because you see this thin grey line. in the middle of our page. It's basically saying you shouldn't really go past that line when you're coding, just to make things look neater. Okay, so now we're making our own private function called show sneaker, and this function takes in an argument of a sneaker. So whenever you call this function, you need to pass in the sneaker you're talking about so it knows what we're referring to. And what we're going to do, we're going to move most of our code in here, because when you're coding, you don't want things to have like multiple uses in one function. Like right now it says fun, but fun is for function. So you kind of extract that code into another function and then call it. So as you can see, we've called show sneaker and we've passed in the sneaker that we made, which is the Air Force One black, into our function, which does everything that we're already doing, but it's just kind of extracting it away from, you know, being in on create, because, you know, we're doing something else here. So right now I'm just making some private late init vars, which is just telling our class, we don't need to leave it in a function, that we already have these like views, and it's just going to be late initialization depending on what sneaker we pass in. So it's just kind of letting the class know we've got these, and later on we're going to give you some information regarding these variables, and we're going to do some things with them. So I've done that there. So I'm going to just move the setting of these views back to on create, but now we don't need the val in front of them because we've already made them late initialization variables. So we can just do image equals name equals description equals, because it's already been made above, and now we're just changing what it's actually set as. So if we run our app, it should look exactly the same. It's just that we've done a bit of refactoring. So you saw our buttons do not work yet because we haven't done anything for them. So just as we did before for our image, name and description, we're going to do it for our buttons. So we'll do a value of like for our like button, and actually we'll call it like button because, you know, it just makes sense, and a value of dislike button for our dislike button, and just set it to the IDs we made when we made our design. It's quite nice to have similar code in a similar place. So I'm going to move this little bit that I just wrote to where we do our other find view by IDs just below the description, so that they're just kind of all together nice and clean. And next we need our buttons to actually do stuff. So now we've defined what the buttons are, we can literally write like button dot set on click listener, which means this is what's going to happen when we click this button. So when we click this button, first of all, we want a piece of text to come up at the bottom. It's called a toast. It's kind of like, you know, when you save an image at the bottom it says saved, like just something like that. So we have the context, which is this activity that we have right now, and then we put the actual text we want to come up. So for like button, we're going to do liked, then we put the length we want it to show for, so we'll do short, and we might as well just copy and paste this for now for our dislike button. Since the buttons are relatively similar, we're going to just quickly change that and we'll just do them together. Okay, so this isn't finished, but we're just going to quickly run the app and see what it looks like when we click these buttons. Right now we only have one trainer, so we know that the screen's not going to change, but let's just look at these toasts we made come up. Oh, liked, disliked. That's exactly what we wanted. So now we're going to spice things up a little bit. Each trainer, we're going to actually give a liked message and a disliked message for that object, because we don't want everything to say liked or disliked. We want to be able to customize it for different trainers, give them a different message whether you like or dislike it. Obviously this is a quick video, so I'm probably not going to really customize it too much, but just to show you some things you can do. Obviously it's complaining because the trainer we made doesn't have these values, so we have to add it back into that trainer we made. So for the liked message, we can just change it to you liked this, and then for the disliked we can just say you dislike this, and just see that change. Obviously when we're setting our on click listener, we hard coded the text to say liked and disliked, so we have to change that and make it sneaker.liked message and sneaker.disliked message, so that we get the right text coming up. And when we rerun our app, we shall see you liked this and you disliked this. Perfect. So we actually need to make all of our sneakers, don't we? Like right now we've just got one, which is Air Force, and it's within our on create, which we don't want. Like I said, we like to extract the logic to exactly, you know, what we're actually trying to do. So when we're showing a sneaker, we call it show sneaker. When we're generating a sneaker, so making them, we're going to call the function generate sneakers, and it's going to be a list of all the sneakers we want. So basically, as you can see, this is the only function we have a return in, and it's the semicolon list sneaker. So basically we're saying this function when called returns a list of sneakers. The other functions aren't returning anything, they're just performing some logic, which is why they don't have returns. So for this one, we're going to move our sneaker that we made into here, and this is going to be the beginning of our list. For now, we'll just do one and we'll add the rest later on because we don't really need them right now. And then in the beginning, we're going to do a private val sneakers equals generate sneakers, which returns the list of the sneakers we make. So now our value sneakers is a list of sneakers. So what we can do, we can change everywhere that we called sneaker, which was just one, to change it to sneakers, which is our list, and then put an index in, which can be any number from 0 to however many sneakers there are on that list, minus 1. Just because the list starts at 0, so the first item on the list is actually the 0 index, and then the second item is 1, which is a bit strange, but that's how it works. So right now we just run the app with the 0 index, so it's getting the first of the list. But if we change it to 1, because we've added the white Air Forces now, that is the second item of the list. So if we rerun the app, you see we get the second item on the list. What we need to do now is finish the logic for our button. So we don't want it to just show the same trainer the whole time. So every time we click the button, after it says our message for like or dislike, we want it to show the next trainer. So what we do, we get a private variable. It's variable because the number is going to change. So it's going to start at 0, and every time we either click like or dislike, it's going to move to the next item. So we can set index at 0 initially, change every 0 to index, which is 0, but as it changes, it just means that it's going to change within the code, which is exactly what we want. And in the button, in the on-click listener, what we're doing, index plus plus means whatever index is, add 1. So it's saying if you click the like button, show you've liked this, then change the index to the next one, and then show the next trainer. So that's what's happening. Obviously, just now we click the dislike button and the app crashed because it's trying to go to the next index, but we only have 2 in our list. So once it hits the index of 2, which is essentially the third item in our list, it crashes because there isn't a third item. So we're just going to put a little if statement. So if index hits the maximum number of sneakers we have in our list, then you put index back to 0 and it goes back to the beginning. So now you see if I click dislike or like, it just goes back to the beginning. Black Air Force, white Air Force. Okay, so we're going to take it up a level. I'm quickly going to just add all the trainers we saved from Google at the beginning so that we can actually see it running through a longer list, not just 2 trainers. I'm going to mix up the order a little bit. So I'm going to rerun the app, and now we're going to see it working, going through all the different trainers I just added, displaying the messages. Obviously I'm clicking quite fast, so the messages at the bottom are a bit, it's not quick enough, but basically all the logic is there. The app is working, and that's exactly what we wanted to make. So right now we're just going to quickly refactor. So refactoring is very important. Even though the app is basically what we want, it just makes the code look a bit tidier, and it's like if anyone else is going to come and work on your code, it's just a bit easier for them to know what's going on. So we're going to make more private latent varies, but for the like button and the dislike button, and just kind of change it to the same logic we did for the image views and text views by getting rid of the val inside the code and initializing it previously. And then we're also gonna see this logic here for the like button and the dislike button. The on-click listeners is a whole lot of lines, so we're going to move it into show sneaker because it's the same kind of logic. So I don't see why we're passing the index again here. So I'm going to remove it from there and actually go to our show sneaker function and put it in there. Then I can remove the index because we're actually passing that specific sneaker into this function anyway, so we don't need to pass the index again. We already passed the index when we call this function above. And now I'm going to make a private function called set buttons because, like I said, I like one function to do one thing. It just makes it easier for anyone reading my code to know what is going on. So all the logic regarding setting these buttons and changing the index and showing the next sneaker, I'm gonna pass into this function here so that our show sneaker function looks a lot nicer. As you can see, our on-click listener for both our like and dislike button are very similar. So what I'm going to do instead is just make a function called set buttons, pass in the button and the sneaker so that I can just say for the like button, show this message. For the dislike button, show this message. At first, when building this function, I realize that the like and dislike button have different messages that they're showing depending on whether it's a like or dislike message. So what I did, I created a when statement. So when it's like, and then I put the same code that we had before, and when the button is dislike, I did the same code as we had before, but it's just sneaker.dislike message. But I realized an easier way is to just actually pass in the message. I don't need to pass in the whole sneaker because I only need the message to show. So now I don't need to have a when statement for like and dislike. It doesn't matter what button because I'm passing the message. So now it says set button, liked message. So that's what I've passed in. So for the like button, you set it and you pass in the message, and then for the text that's going to show you put message because you literally passed in the message you want it to say. Then I only need to call it once, and you see like I've literally halved the code that we need. And now if I run it, it literally does the same thing, but the code looks a lot neater, a lot tidier, and you know, we're not repeating ourselves all over the place, which is never good for any kind of code. So some more changes I want to make. I want to move the buttons a bit further down. I feel like they looked a bit squashed with the description. I'm also going to make the name of the sneaker all capital letters and make it bold as well, just because it's the title, like it's the name of the sneaker. I think it should stand out, and I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger as well. Same for the description. I think the description could be a bit bigger as well. It's all looking a bit small, so I'm going to change the size of the font and see what that looks like quickly. Also, I reformatted it again, Command Option L, just to make sure everything's in the right order. It's just good practice. It's a bit big, so I'm going to make it a bit smaller. I'm also going to change, you see the text is highlighting it because it doesn't like something, because you're not supposed to have hard-coded text. So if you change that to tools, it basically is saying it's a placeholder, because we never actually see the word sneaker name, so it's just showing Android that just put that there for now so I can see it. And we also changed the font to SP because DP is more for views and images, and font sizes should be SP. For like and dislike, those are actually text that we need because that's what actually shows on our app. So we save that as strings, and if we go to our res folder and go to values, we have a folder with all our strings saved, and that's where they are. So now I feel like I'm happy with my refactoring of the app. There's not much more I would want to do. So now I'm just screen recording my Android device just to show you the finished app. A very basic app. I just want it to be the fundamentals, some buttons, some changing text, changing images, some on-click listeners, you know. This is our finished sneaker Tinder app. Well done, guys. Give yourself a round of applause. So that is the finished app. I hope you guys are following along. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a simple app that anyone could kind of make. And yeah, I'm gonna have more for you. Like, this is just the beginning. I had to just, you know, give you a little taste, but we definitely will be making more apps, some websites as well. And if you guys have any app that you're thinking, oh, this would be a nice app for me to try and make, or you'd want to see me try and reproduce, just tell me right below. Tell me right now what you want, and I'm gonna try my best to do it, because you know, I'm here for the people. I'm here for you guys. Like I said before, that was from Codebar, the tutorial that inspired this whole video. So I'm gonna put the link right here. Guys, you know what I'm gonna say. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the vibe. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.